Well, the NBA season finally ended for the Portland Trailblazers, and so I just wanted to give a brief recap of how their season went and where they go from now. So as you look at their season, it was pretty much an up and down season, mostly a down. They started off losing their first 3 games, but then they won their next 3 games. In fact, them being 3-3 was the only time that they had a 500 record for the season. They did not go over 500 at all in this last season. But after they were at 500, the losing streak began. They lost 8 in a row. Then they would win a game, lose a game, win a couple games. Then they'd lose 7 in a row, win a game, lose a couple games, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose a few, win 1, lose a few more, win a couple, lose a couple. It just went up and down, basically. They had a 9-game losing streak, and then they had a 10-game losing streak. In fact, the whole month of February, they lost every game they played.
Very impressive.
And then they finished the season winning only 2 games and finishing off losing 5 in a row. So that was their season in general. Their best winning streak was 3 games. Woohoo!
Congratulations.
And their most games that they lost in a row was 10 games. So let's see how they did in comparison to the other teams that were at the bottom of the NBA. This is where they currently stand at the time of this recording. Before the lottery happens, these are the rankings. You got Detroit as 1, Washington as 2, Portland and Charlotte are tied for 3rd. And then you got San Antonio, Toronto, Memphis, Utah, Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, Oklahoma City, and then there's Sacramento and Portland, who gets the pick from Golden State. So actually there are 2 positions that Portland could be in. They have their own number 1 pick, and they have their pick from Golden State. Now, their pick from Golden State is kind of weird because it's one of those things where it's a protected pick, which basically means that if it's in the top 4, Golden State keeps the pick. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Their best chance is for them to get the number 1 pick with their own pick. Now they are either in the number 3 or the number 4 position because they're tied with Charlotte for 3rd. And there's going to be a drawing as far as who gets number 3 and who gets number 4. But the odds are pretty much even as far as whether or not they're going to get the number 1 pick or not. So is there anybody out there that is potentially a top prospect in the NBA draft this year? Well, let's take a look at the draft board. Now, at the time of this taping, it could change later on, but here are some of the draft prospects for 2024. You've got Alexandre Sarr from Australia, who many believe could be the consensus overall number 1 pick. Then you have Zachary Risseker from France. You have Ron Holland from the G League. You got Cody Williams from Colorado. Nikola Topic from Serbia. Rob Dillingham from Kentucky, Isaiah Collier from USC, Reed Shepard from Kentucky, Stephon Castle from Connecticut, Donovan Clingan from Connecticut. The reason why these 2 guys are in the top prospects is because, well, they helped win the NCAA tournament, becoming the national champions. But just looking at the list here, I just really am not impressed with any of these players, if I'm being honest.
That is going to suck.
So this offseason is going to be very interesting for the Blazers. What do they do with the 2 draft picks that they have in the first round? And they also have 2 draft picks in the second round. And on top of that, they have 14 guys on their roster that are guaranteed for a return next season. So this is going to be an interesting offseason for the Blazers. It is going to be something that is, I hope, that they can capitalize on with whatever they do, whoever they pick in this year's NBA draft. Is there going to be anybody that they're going to trade for? Are any of the players that are under contract going to be traded away? There are a couple guys that have the potential of being traded, but again, they have guaranteed contracts, and so you never know what's going to happen in this offseason. So it is so wide open for the Blazer office. We just do not know what's going to happen. One thing I do know is that General Manager Joe Cronin, in his end of the season press conference, did say that head coach Chauncey Billups will return for next year because he is under contract, but he has one more year left. He has a 5-year contract. This was his 3rd season. He's guaranteed to return next season with a 5th-year option. So, do the Blazers keep Chauncey Billups after the end of the next season? Well, it all depends on how well they improve next season. Now, granted, this year was definitely a struggle because after they traded Damian Lillard, they had a lot of guys that were 1 or 2 year players, and they just did not gel. They missed a lot of games. They just did not have experience. However, they did keep these games close most of the part. They did have several games where they did get blown out. In fact, there was 2 games this year where they lost by 60 points or more. The first time that's ever happened to a team in NBA history is losing 2 games by 60 plus points. Impressive.
Most impressive.
But it's one of those things where I like what they're going to be doing. I do like some of the players that they have, some of the young players. I think they just need another year to develop and see where they go from here. Their first pick, Scoot Henderson from last year's NBA draft, was not really all that good at first. He struggled mightily, but he did show signs of improvement as the season went on, and he started to figure it out. And so he's got some upside. He knows how to dish the ball to other players to get a better shot. He just does not know how to shoot the 3 real well, and hopefully with time that can improve. However, they do have another player who is in his 2nd year, Shaedon Sharpe. He really knew how to play, and he was a great player. Unfortunately, he missed almost half the season because of his injuries, and so they just did not have the chemistry. They had lots of players that they had to pick up because the players that they had on their roster were injured, and they didn't want to take any chances with them. And I get that. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. As far as what I'm going to be doing, well, I might make a video short when I find out what draft pick they will get. And then I probably will make another video short as to who they pick in this year's NBA draft.
Do it.
Other than that, I'm pretty much done covering the Blazers until their season opener in October. And I'll be doing the same thing that I did this past season. I'll give a weekly recap, and then I will put out some videos as well as far as other topics. I believe that means a lot to me as a lifelong Blazers fan myself. So let's see what happens. So please, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and remember, no matter how high you may soar, always stay grounded.